Hey there, YouTube. Got some things to talk about before I go out to the range today. So I'm gonna go chirp a few rounds. Um, but it's looking more and more like it is over for the Legacy Board of Directors for USPSA. A couple things to talk about today. Ben Berry put out an interesting short course podcast that's on Apple's podcast thing. Just search for short course if you want to listen to it. And we've got a letter from Phil Strater. So I'll take those things in order. First, coming from Ben Berry's podcast, again, just released this morning. He's confirming no Sherwin, no Swinger Sherwin, no Lickathon Bruce coming back. They're, I think they might be gone, like permanently. I certainly think so, that they've been put in the dirt. They're not coming back. He revealed a very interesting thing about the meeting last week, the one that was live streamed, where the committee to nominate a new Area 1 and Area 3 director, they got suggestions from the section coordinators in Area 1 and Area 3, and then sent an email out to the board. So, like, to Ben, this is how he can reveal this. He's like, yeah, I mean, they said these are the suggestions we got. Like, sounds good. And then in the middle of the live stream meeting, an email pops into Ben Berry's inbox right as Russell Fortney starts talking, saying, "Oh, we're changing it. It's going to be." Well, they didn't say Lickathon Bruce. They said Bruce, but yeah, they're going to bring back Bruce and Sherwin, and it was just Ben Berry's just sitting there like, oh, okay, like I see how this is. And on that committee to do that, Russell Layton and Mel Roduro. So it's like it really couldn't be any better. Um, Ben Berry also saying, according to what he's seeing, the protests are actually gaining steam at this point. Like it's gone beyond like just the stuff you see on Instagram and on YouTube and the normal Howler Monkey crew. Like it's way beyond there. People, they don't give a shit what I say or what they have been following any of this stuff for me. They've never heard of practical shooting insights, any of this stuff. They don't care. And they're keyed into what's really going on here. They're seeing this stuff and then it's like, nope, that does not look cool. So the protests are actually still gaining steam um, from this point. Phil Strater put up another letter online. I'm going to read it. And Phil Strater is well liked inside of the industry, and he's kind of gets along with everybody. Like Phil Strater is a guy that like for the I'm you'd say like I'm one of the extremists or I'm one of the radicals, like one of the wild men. So a lot of people don't like me. Then there's like people on the other end of the spectrum, like all the way company men. They don't do any shenanigans. They just play it straight the whole time. Phil kind of gets along with everybody along that spectrum, which is why I kind of appreciate Phil. Anyway, here's what Phil has to say. Like many of you, I've watched USPSA's development with much interest since 2016. From 2010 to 2016, I was a board of directors member as Area 4 director and president. It was a great experience, and I developed much deeper appreciation and love for the organization, the people behind the scenes, and especially the active membership. Granted, there were challenges with opinions and personalities both on and off the board, but that never became an obstacle to our duties to best represent the actual owners of the organization, the members. After my term was up in 2016, many changes happened that concerned me, but I still kept faith that the entire board of directors and organization's leadership would always put the future and health of USPSA first. I'm saddened to say that this is no longer the case. Either through arrogance, incompetence, pride, or power, there have been public decisions made over the last several years that have been detrimental to our sport. I'm proud of our membership who have recently recognized these actions and voiced their concerns loud and clear. This is a message to the representatives that run our organization. You are on notice. Put your personal agendas and motivations aside and listen to your members, not just in your area, but all of them. With the power of social media exploding, you now have more resources than ever to promote your ideas that will make USPSA better while getting feedback from your membership. I know that you will never make everyone happy, but putting personal or deceptive agendas first will make plenty of members angry enough to take drastic actions. With all that said, I will continue to support my USPSA area director, Frank Rizzi, and the organization as a whole. I agreed to host the Area 7 Championship here at SIG Sauer Academy, and I'll make good on my word provided that the nonsense stops. I understand the motivations by some not to attend, but I have faith that many share my hopeful I have faith that many share my hopeful optimism for the sport. This is our first major USPSA match here in a decade, and it will be a great one. Hope to see you all on the range. Okay, so I think Phil's speaking. I mean, for a lot of people there, and and like I said, it's interesting that it's coming from Phil. So seeing all this stuff coming out, you're seeing how this stuff is going. Honestly, I think it's over. It is over for the Legacy Board of Directors. It really is. That just the volume of email that they're getting. Let me pull this up. Like one guy forwarded this to me. He wrote a. I mean, some of this stuff is pretty juvenile, and I'm guilty as charged. But this one guy copied me on an email that he sent to Leighton, where he's like photoshopped Leighton's head onto a hot dog, telling him to resign. And actually, it's a pretty nasty email if you read it all the way through. It's not very nice. I'm not going to repost it. Well, Leighton read it, and it's like that's the kind of stuff they're getting, like really nasty stuff, really professional stuff, stuff that's kind of in the middle. And I think the only way I can read this now is this sort of stuff is going to continue until these personalities are just gone. Like especially Leighton, like he's just got to go from this point. It's like he can stay on the board. I mean, he can stay there, but the level of scrutiny that they're under now, it's going to stay the same. Like people are going to be looking at the minutes. They're like any mistake they make is just going to get amplified on social media, and then these guys are going to continue to get hammered. Meanwhile, like nobody's going to trust the organization or trust that there's going to be a new direction as long as these guys are still in the mix. And I'm talking about Area 2, Leighton. We call him a hot dog on Instagram. Area 5, Rick Steele. He's like a human dial tone. Like that guy is just a nothing. Like I think people aren't like calling for his head as much, but it would be better if he won. The same with Russell. Like it looks like the Area 8 director Russell Fortney. It looks like he's earned his name, Grinfuck Fortney. Like, yeah, that's who these guys are, and people see that, and they're not going to trust anything until those guys are gone, and the scrutiny is going to stay until those guys are gone. People are going to keep protesting, some of them at least, like until they see something really start changing. And and that's just kind of the way it is, and that's the state of play right now. It is never going to change from this point, I don't think. There's no coming back from this for these guys. People aren't going to trust them, like I said. And the sooner that they acknowledge that that's the reality, and they like, okay, like just what the organization needs is for us to resign, and then that Scott will come back on the board. Scott can, help fix the money stuff, which is like the immediate problem. And then just let other leadership, like, yeah, you guys take it from here. Like, whatever, we've done enough. That's really the right thing for the organization. And I don't think there's another way around it. Um, it's just, it's just a matter of how long this drags on, like how long it takes for these guys to accept that this is going to be the dynamic. Because it's like, as far as I can tell, like that's what it's going to be. Like as long as Leighton wants to stay on the board, like the howler monkeys are going to be watching, other people are going to be watching, and anything they see that they can jump on, they're going to do it. If he and his buddies leave the board, then people are like, oh, okay, maybe things are going to change. Give these guys a chance. Let's, see if this goes in a positive direction now, that type of thing. That's like reasonable people are sitting back and looking at it as like it basically they're looking at it that way. Whether or not anybody likes it, that's just the reality that we find ourselves in. So yeah, I think these guys are toast. And the sooner that they recognize that, the better it is for everyone. Your emails are working. Email board@uspsa.org. Even if you don't get a reply, they do read them. And you should, you think the guys are doing a good job? You want to say, hey, Ben, Barry, Frank, and Frank, you guys are doing great. Or, hey, Yim and I appreciate you doing this or that or whatever. You should email them and like encourage the guys you think are doing a good job because that matters. They appreciate the support. And then the guys that need to go, you should tell them that too, quite honestly, because the sooner they come around to that and they wake up that yep, this is what is going to happen, because I think one way or the other that is what's going to happen, then the sooner this whole thing can be over.